What's going on, everybody? It's FREEDO here for your Overwatch. Big patch dropped yesterday, and because Torbjorn is delayed in competitive for 2 weeks, but I still wanted to retrieve some data on how the upcoming patch will play, I played a lot of quick play to test out what I thought on the current balance patch. Lots of changes went into the game yesterday. Buffs to Soldier, McCree, Orisa. Of course, the big Torbjorn rework, which is a reliability buff, makes him more fluid of a character. Nerfs to Doomfist and Brigitte, as well as the big Pharah damage rework. We're going to review it all and discuss where these characters are going and what effects it's going to have on the game moving forward. I think Torb's sick. That's where I'm going to start. I think Torb's really good, most notably because he's good against two of the best DPS right now, Sombra and Doomfist, because we're in a control meta, right? I've described that for a while, but in short, your gameplay lives or dies based on big abilities landing. Sometimes that can be a skill shot, like a Hanzo headshot or something, but most of the time, it's either a hack or a Doomfist punch, anti-nade, things like that. Big abilities landing. Well, most things in the game roll over and die when they are hacked or punched into a wall by Doomfist, but Torb ain't hearing that noise, man. The cool thing about the overload ability is that you can pop it when you get hacked or as Doomfist comes to pursue you, and you can tough it out with those characters. Not to mention, his mobile turret now deters that type of aggressive flanking to begin with. So, put that turret up on a high ground somewhere to be able to shoot them in the back as they start to pursue into you, or leave it in your own backline. In any case, Torb has a lot of tools to deal with those two DPS, and that's what I'm most excited to toy with as he goes into the competitive version of the game. Not to mention, Torb is also good against the major fixture point of the metagame right now, Brigitte, who this is going to affect ranked play, but even more exciting, I'd say, pro play, because who really wants to see 3-3 GOATS composition in the World Cup? I don't. I hope we play on this patch. Because the thing is, when Brigitte has rally, or even tanks when they have armor health normally, that is like the buffer health you use to take space aggressively. When you have armor health, you know you're a bit more durable, so you can face tank a bit more damage. Torb's new ult, Molten Core, I actually don't think looks very good most of the time, but up against those characters that are looking to take space aggressively, whether it's like Brigitte popping rally and chasing you down, or a tank pressing W too hard with their armor health locked and loaded, the added DPS that Molten Core gets against armor is such a big burst and a shock to that player that it makes them a lot easier to focus down. It'll be even more significant against the GOATS composition, which looks terrifying once rally is popped because they all are gaining armor. I mean, no more. That just gets deleted in a second with a Molten Core ultimate. And you already could play characters like Sombra and farm for EMP to counter it pretty well anyway. So I think, all things considered, GOATS comp is done, and I'm happy to see it go. Yeah, I think Torbjorn is a serious counter-pick character because his kit ticks so many boxes in what you need out of a damage character right now. His range damage is okay. It's not great. It's a little too hard to land for it to be considered top tier, but that's not really why you're picking him. And it goes to show why damage by itself doesn't mean too much. This is why a character like Soldier, even getting his big buff, I say big buff, it's not a very big buff, doesn't really matter, because the problem Soldier has is what utility does he bring to the game? We're in a control meta, right? Well, he pops on a healing station to make him tankier. Well, there's already 100 different things in the game already that are tanky, give the team tankiness, so healing station, when the game launched, looked like one of the best things in order to sustain yourself. Now, everything is tanky and gets shields, and Torb's popping armor and all this. There's way better self-sustain abilities in the game. What else can he do? He has sprint, can reposition, better than nothing, reliable hit scan weapon, and helix rocket. Well, the new Soldier definitely dominates Pharah in a way that he never did before. That extra bit of accuracy, where it takes longer for his primary weapon to spread, matters a lot. Just against her, though. I think against just about everything else, except when he's playing incredibly well to, like, duel a squishy, it doesn't matter too much. Because Soldier's problem is, he's immobile and a dive target. And unlike Torb, who pops overload and now is this badass, Soldier is flimsy and farmable. So his extra damage doesn't matter most of the time. and he doesn't have the mobility to get past shields, so you kind of have to have one or the other. Either you bypass shields, or you're durable in the backline, either through mobility or actual sustain that's going to help you survive. Hell Station doesn't do much because the damage that comes through to kill you is in an instant anyway. We are in a control meta, but don't let that confuse you into thinking that it's a slow one. It's calculated for sure, but the things that make impact are instant, basically. Headshots and abilities land and you're dead. So Soldier's damage and his healing utility both help in the poke fight to sustain and sort of draw fights out. So in that way, he just still isn't very good, and I can see him in some cases getting swapped in the support slot because he still brings some team healing and at least self-heal. If you want to trade out sustain for firepower, which I think is a legitimate choice that you might make on a few maps, and it might be legit, but overall Soldier just as one of the damage characters is, I think, unplayable basically and easily farmable unless the enemy just keeps playing Pharah, which is just suicide. That's kind of the problem right now, and something to be concerned about is that we're really going into a rock paper scissors-y meta. So beyond Pharah, you also could probably say Soldier is pretty decent against Torbjorn because you need range damage to both contest Torb at range outside of his effective medium range and have something that can reliably shoot the turret because it's going to be throwing it at high angles up on high ground behind you in a lot of annoying spots. But it's still really hard to imagine a world where you take Soldier over Hanzo or even McCree, who I think the new McCree has a better chance to come up big soon. I've been saying that McCree's like this hidden gem of a character. Perhaps Torbjorn and McCree as a DPS duo will be enough to stomp out these Sombra Doomfist attacks. The roll buff doesn't help him too much. It lets him have a bit more of uptime in the fight because he can choose to roll for a reload more often and have the opportunity to have it back when he really needs it in a pinch. But it's still on that borderline of feeling like you don't want to waste it because you know then you'll just get dove. But I think if you're playing around a Brigitte, Anna, Torbjorn setup, you might have the tools to be able to play that slower playstyle. Because McCree either needs Mercy to be really good in the game to give him pocket healing when someone tries to pounce him, or just enough threats around to play Protect the President around McCree. So yes, he can succeed when stacking CC sources to beat some of this Doomfist play that is in vogue right now. But a lot of times when you commit to him, he just becomes open to snipers getting picked, which are still sick characters. So even though McCree does have the burst potential that a character like Soldier kind of doesn't often enough, he's still chained to the ground, making it hard to justify him a lot of the time. And it still comes down to having the utility in this meta, I think. So on some maps, I think McCree can be playable, but he'll be a bit boom or bust even still. The most controversial changes of all were to Pharah, of course, and we've discussed this many times on the channel, but I've got some new things to say. I feel this new animation for Pharah's Halloween skin, where she just obliterates into 1,000 pieces, is a good visual representation of how my Pharah play has been going. I've been getting destroyed as Pharah, and she had historically been one of my best heroes, so my playstyle definitely is getting wrecked by it. And when I say my playstyle, we all know probably what that means is, right? I'm probably just not that good. I think I might be able to train it up back again, but here's the thing. The reason why I think so many people disagree about whether it's a buff or a nerf is depending on if you can see what the optimal playstyle will be and if you can even approach that. So original Pharah could play as an airborne sniper almost, and I could take my good sweet time picking out really clean shots, going for directs, but then also going for like tactical airborne strikes that will get guaranteed splash damage to confirm kills. None of that is relevant anymore. Instead, because your splash is so bad, you have to make use of the fire rate to get any damage out of Pharah. So, instead of being able to take my time, I'm forced to rush going for directs, and if I don't hit him, I lose, and if I do hit him, she looks really strong, but it's a much more frantic way of needing to play the character, and I think that's going to throw a lot of people off who are used to playing Pharah the old way. This was so jarring for me that I tweeted out that I thought maybe the jump jets got nerfed somehow, but they definitely didn't. What I was experiencing was losing the muscle memory of the timing of hovering properly in order to maintain my altitude while keeping in pace with my shots, because now the feeling is so separated in your hands where your movement still needs to stay at that same old slow floaty way, but instead of the shots feeling almost in sync with how you float every second or so. Now you're shooting and aiming, and Conch Blast aiming arm is going all over the place because you have to be hitting directs wildly. And for Pharahs who have a lot of mechanical skill, I think they will feel like it's a buff, and a lot of you did say this on Twitter as well. If you feel like you can pummel into tanks or go for duels against squishies and hit a couple directs, you will dominate. But if you're like me and you want to play a much more slower, let's say, zoning easy style of Pharah, where you sort of sit back with aerial superiority and take your time picking out targets, that's just gone completely. So I'm really interested to see how this pans out. As I said earlier, Pharah gets deleted by so many different things right now. And because you don't have reliable splash either, taking shots at range is just a massive risk. Long range shots are almost entirely a coin flip, so really want to get Pharah into the middle of the fight at medium range where you can get more reliable directs. For example, I feel like the duel up against Doomfist feels a lot better because you shoot so fast now, and he had so much health before that splash wasn't really good enough, and you had to hit directs on him. But if you can hit those mid-air directs against like Doomfist, Genji, even Widowmakers who hook shot towards you into the sky, then you could be sick with Pharah, but it's an entirely new way of playing the character in my opinion, and you really have to raise your reaction times to have a chance. So ideally what you want to be doing with Pharah is bombarding tanks, and then be able to quickly switch into dueling a squishy and direct them multiple times. And if you don't, you probably aren't getting the kill, and you'll have a lot of times where the splash damage will take you like 4 rockets to kill something, when usually just an average splash follow-up would have been enough. Last few things I want to review: Orisa and Brigitte. Not too much to say about Orisa, honestly. I think as well, tighter spread helps her do a few things, makes her stronger, I think, against Doomfist and Brigitte. I already thought she alone was pretty good against. Problem is, Brigitte comps usually are Rein Zarya comps, which run over Orisa. But against both of them, they have these really meaty hitboxes that at most ranges, Orisa shreds. Most of the time, it's impossible to chew down Brigitte's shield, but Orisa has so much ammo that she can actually do it. And as well, halt either of them in order to set up for her damage to be legit, which is a big deal coming from the tank slot, as everything else should be helping you shoot those targets as well. Brigitte's shield health going down to 500 doesn't all of a sudden make going for shield break good though. I think what's more interesting about the patch is the upcoming Torb change, which gives a direct answer to rally. In either case, either the mid-fight rally or the pre-fight rally, both of them can be answered quite reliably with Molten Core on deck, so it'll be much harder for Brigitte teams to find value out of their close range one-hit kill stun machine, because they have to close the distance on you, putting them susceptible to Molten Core. It's not quite EMP erasing sound barrier, because EMP goes past shields and denies all those things as well, so Molten Core in general isn't as strong. The Torb team will just have to find angles to get the Molten Core past the shielding and tanking abilities that it bounces off of, and then you're Gucci. Guys, that's gonna be everything for today's meta discussion video. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Are you excited at this upcoming patch? Does it fix any of the matchups that you were concerned about? Is there any heroes that you still think are being left behind and you'd like to see move up in strength in upcoming patches? If you did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave it a like. It really does help us out, lets us know that you're enjoying the content, and if you haven't already, please subscribe, because we upload each and every day, so you're going to want to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Link to the description is our Twitter, where we tweet out news, updates, and dank memes. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.